Hello and welcome to my channel Enjoy Watercolour Painting and my gallery here in southwest France. You find me in a state of disarray. I'm trying desperately to sort things out here in the gallery because I'm planning on moving sometime this summer, not quite sure when. Depends on French bureaucracy, which sometimes can be very long drawn out and tedious, but I am going to move and I have lots of stuff to sort out, lots of things to decide if I want to keep or recycle or abandon altogether. A very chaotic time, and I've been neglecting my videos. This is the first one that I filmed for 3 going on 4 weeks. And I'm pleased to be doing it because it gives me a chance for a lovely respite to choose a calm subject, and dare I say it, an easier subject, all about tonal values and creating depth in your watercolour painting. Not using a varied palette, just sticking with one basic colour really, which I've chosen, which is blue, and using the variation of colour, the depth of colour, to create depth. It's been a very tranquil, very soothing picture to paint, not too demanding. I'll take you through all the different steps, everything you need to know to create a similar image. So stay with me. And during the video, if you enjoy it, don't forget to give me a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. So let's go on this watercolour journey together and find some calmness and some peace as we go. Let's paint. Today we're going to look at tonal values. That means light and shade in your colour. We use tonal values to give us depth in our painting. And here I've got 2 examples. This monochrome photograph here is of the Cuillins in the Isle of Skye in Scotland. The photo's taken by my son. And because it's monochrome, we can see the different tonal values going back to give us depth, with the Cuillin Mountains in the background, much lighter, much less defined, working forward with more detail, more darker colouring, taking us to the foreground, which, although we can't see much of it, is much more detailed and much better defined. So this is what we're going to work on today. I'm going to paint a landscape with very limited colour palette. The colour palette I'm going to use comes from this beautiful photograph of a village that I lived in Scotland with the river flowing through. Again, we've got a very limited palette, just a hint of the yellow sunset, orangey yellow, and then blues, the blue of the sky, and all the different tones that you see bringing us right through to the foreground. This palette is a lovely palette to paint with, and so this is the palette I'm going to use for this painting. But the image that I'm going to use is this one here of the Cuillins in the Isle of Skye, from Portree, which is the main town on the Isle of Skye. So let's paint. Now I have my palettes all prepared. A blue palette here with a selection of blues, ultramarine, French ultramarine, permanent rose. And here I think possibly, although it's a long time since I put this paint on the palette, I think it's Windsor Blue Red shade. Then I have Payne's Grey here, and then two of my Sunset palettes with permanent orange and transparent yellow. And then a darker palette which I'll use later. I have a selection of mop brushes and 2 pots of paint, and my paper is a sheet of fine grain Arches watercolour paper. So let's start. Obviously we're going with this palette with the blues and yellows, and the potential is for things to turn green. So I'm adding permanent rose to the mix, and this will help us to avoid that happening. But the first washes are going to be of the pale gold for the reflection of the sky in the loch, using the colours. You'll see as we go along how it works. So off we go. Now I'm beginning with a very delicate sunset sky colour. First of all, because I want the colour to be diluted, I'm wetting the top third of the paper and adding drops of transparent yellow, transparent orange, and just a hint of permanent rose, letting it flow with the water in a horizontal way, and just moving the colour with the mop brush just so that we don't have any blobs remaining. Now I'm going further down the paper because I want the same colours to be reflected in the water, and so I'm adding the same mix of yellow, orange and just a hint of pink, just to give me the same tones. Moving it again with the brush and adding now a hint of mauve to which is a permanent rose ultramarine blue mix. Keeping it very light, very subtle. This isn't a dramatic sunset. We want the colours to be delicate and pale. And the water will distribute the colour well without any effort. And then I need to let the paper dry. At the moment it's shiny wet. But now we see it has dried lighter, and I have that lovely light delicate look. And so I'm now using the same mix, my permanent rose ultramarine blue, to define the mountains, the distant mountains, using a medium-sized mop brush which has a lovely point to it, so it's easy to get the more fine lines as well as add colour in a generous way, and letting the water move the colour a little. This is the tonal value coming into its own. We want the distant mountains to be pale and misty and just about defined, but only just. And so this pale mix of colour will give us exactly that effect. If we have any harsher lines that we don't want, at this point you can take your mop brush and just wet the area and use a smaller liner brush to add more colour where required. We don't really want harsh lines, we just want gentle blending along the lower edge of the colour. And now we've let it dry and I can start to add stronger colour. We can see that as we look at the photograph in the top left, we can see that the colour is now much darker, but there are paler areas. And so I'm using the mop brush to apply this lovely mix of Windsor Blue Red shade and a hint of Payne's Grey, but adding water in between the darker colour lines. So we have some areas which will dry lighter and give us the chance to add more detail later. I haven't done any pencil work with this, and of course the filming is speeded up just so that we can get through the different techniques without it becoming too boring and tedious to watch. Water helps always to spread the colour and gives us the opportunity to use the water that's already on the paper to create areas which are more subtle and blended. And you can see here I'm encouraging the water to go up into the darker colour to create a bloom, because we have a belt of trees there, and that's the start of creating the belt of trees, just using the water to create the bloom. This is a joy of watercolour, really. The water can create the effect for you. And so I have my smaller liner brush now, and I'm going to start to add some of the detail that we can clearly see in the photograph. Really field boundaries and areas of woodland. You can clearly see this little liner brush does the job well. And the paper isn't quite dry, and so some of it is going to blend nicely, which will be good because we don't want to work too dry, remembering that all this detail is really at a distance, and we're just using the different contrasting tones of the paint to emphasize that distance. And again, the water will help to blend where necessary. And I can use the blooms created by the water in the last shot to start to emphasize that belt of trees. And blending the colour as we go, so it's not too harsh, not too defined, and has a certain mistiness about it still. Again, the tonal value is important. We don't want it to be too distinctive, the French word keeps popping into my head, trop net, too defined at this point. We want it to have that blended look because it is far away. It's okay to go back and revisit this area, as we will do, as you will see later, because it can't all be done in one session. We need to let it dry and then return, which we're going to do in a moment. Head keeps getting in the way. Sorry about that. So now it's dry and I can go back and develop the field boundaries and the little patches of woodland a bit more, and make them a little bit more defined as they come further down and closer, which is where we have the idea that we want to create depth. So when you stand on a hill looking at a panoramic view, your eye is taken right to the end, right to the far mountains, and then you come forward seeing all the detail. This is the magic of a picture, a painting like this. And I'm concentrating on giving more detail on the right hand side of the image. This is the most interesting bit. And the foreground detail, which I'll apply later, is more or less on the left. So this will help to balance the composition a little. It's great fun to do this detail. It doesn't matter if it's not totally accurate, but to have the little hedgerows and the little woods, and it is quite magical. I hope this is a no stress painting for you, as it was for me, because it's not that challenging, but it is quite effective. And now I'm coming a stage nearer and so my colour is darker and more intense. And this is the headland that sweeps down to the water, as you see in the image. Again, using a more concentrated mix of colour and using the smaller brush to take the colour out into the loch. So now we have 3 different tonal values: the far distance, the midground, and this headland, which is bringing the whole picture nearer and giving us the depth that we want. And because I want this to be emphasised, I've spotted some more Payne's grey in there just to give that part of the picture a little bit more definition. A little bit out of shot now. I got a bit too exuberant moving the paper about, but I hope you can still see it properly. And there is this area which comes right across with trees on a little spit of land, which adds to the interest. So now I have to think about the foreground. I'm not going to do as much foreground as we have in the photograph, but I just want the house roof on the left hand side. I have done a pencil line to help me with this, but it's going to be very simplified. I'm doing it in 2 parts, just defining the gable end of the house, if you like, taking it down, right down to the bottom of the paper, using quite a small mop brush. The chimney is sticking up, but I'm leaving the chimney until later, just getting the basics in at this stage. Now that part is dry, I can start to add the rest of the house. It's just a block of solid colour really, just indicating that it is a house. Nothing architectural, just the shape. Simplified in a way. And using water to wash the colour down, so it's not all the same colour value. We could do more detail to make it more important, but I've just decided just to give the impression of the house and a tree which is only partially visible. And when you put an object into a painting and you're only painting part of it, it makes it less important. The eye isn't going to linger on it. It's just a means of drawing the eye in to the main subject, which is the panoramic view beyond. I'm using my little liner here just to define the trunk and branches of the tree, which is just about visible. I want it to be darker, so whilst it's still wet, I can spot more colour in certain places, and the water will just encourage the colour to run along the lines that are already there, just to give me that extra contrast in the foreground. Thank you for watching my video. I hope it's inspired you to have a go using just a very limited palette to create a picture in depth, a panorama if you like. Please, if you haven't done so already, don't forget to like and subscribe. Ring the bell so you're informed of any future videos. I hope to see you again soon. Try not to leave it so long next time, but as many of you probably know, moving house is not the easiest thing to do, and it doesn't leave much time for everything else. But we will soldier on. I will carry on doing my videos. I enjoy them so much, and I hope you enjoy them too. Until the next time, happy painting. Bye.